Good evening and welcome to Premier 24 of the Internal Map of Reality and Introduction to Meditation. And for those of you that have been following along, I went through the first units of both courses, and now what I'm doing is a kind of condensed walking through primarily the Introduction to Meditation units. And each night we introduce a different aspect of it. But before we do it, we typically would do our 1-minute meditation. And I really want to encourage you to just relax and take a deep breath and use that 1-minute meditation as an opportunity just to put a pause in your day. And then what I've done, I've taken the previous material and I've condensed it down into the key points. And so tonight we'll be moving on and focusing on something that is very, very important. Beliefs. So we'll do a little introduction to beliefs. There'll be a little exercise looking at how we create our beliefs, and then a bonus looking at how our subconscious plays a role in all of this. So the key with beliefs, and I always like the phrase that, if you believe something, it's going to be true for you, whether you're right or you're wrong. So it doesn't matter in life if you are right or wrong. If you believe it, then it's true for you. And that's going to be the overriding theme of tonight's material. We'll take a look at beliefs, we'll look at the power of them, and then we'll do a little exercise, and then we'll wrap it up discussing our subconscious. So get ready to have your 1-minute meditation. And again, thank you everyone who's been tuning in, following along. And please feel free at any time to reach out, send me an email, and we'll have a chat. Okay, here comes your 1-minute meditation. Faith, a truth, something that you believe in, whether it's a religion or a particular trust in someone or some group. But a lot of our first impressions of beliefs is that you believe in something, like a God or a creator. And this quite often is something that we've learned from our family and friends. So it's these beliefs about the outer world and trust in this truth, that this is the truth. And sometimes the outcomes are resourceful, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we avoid the outcomes. But more importantly, these are very predictable. And if these external beliefs about our outer world are often shared and are quite often a marker as, that you belong to this group of people who believe this. Many people don't want to be targeted as belonging to a group because it then automatically assumes that you believe in these things. So this is a big one, a big source of beliefs that we can commonly see. Another source of beliefs deal with healing. And here's where we get the placebo effect. Now the placebo effect, as has been found out, is really a real useful effect. So if you believe that you are going to be healed, your body will begin to produce all the necessary ingredients for you to heal. So I know when I first heard about the placebo effect, it was mentioned as if it was something unimportant or not being of value. But this is a very valuable effect which can be used in our day-to-day healing. Power of beliefs have also been observed in people who have achieved significant things. People have gone from rags to riches, and through their beliefs, they have achieved many things. I remember watching a video some years ago, and this person had made many fortunes, and he looked straight into the camera, the video, and said, I have lost many fortunes, and I believe I can regain all of that and more. So he had the belief that he could achieve this wealth at any time. Very powerful belief. Then there are beliefs that have tremendous influence. I think of Gandhi, who influenced the whole world and changed the politics and introduced the power of making change through non-violence, but resistance to laws and regulations that are unjust. So very powerful. So he affected the whole world. And if you talk to any of these people who are healers, who have made tremendous achievements or are influential in the world, if you ask them what they believe, they will be able to tell you in no uncertain terms exactly what they believe. They will be able to communicate to you their frames, their inner frames about their beliefs. So these internal representations are very powerful, and they are very resourceful. Now, people who have these beliefs, well, they get feedback. So if you're a healer, you see people who get healed. If you are someone making achievements in this world, you will achieve those. You'll get feedback. And if you're, of course, one of the influencers, you will see change. The one thing that's interesting about these types of beliefs, these powerful beliefs, is that people who use them frequently and can really intensify their use. So if you're watching someone who's really adept at healing people, the intensity at which they do it and the intensity at which they believe it is quite remarkable. So beliefs are associated with the intensity at which you wish them to be achieved. Now there's another side to this, that if you're with someone who has a belief that differs from yours, or if there's something in the outside world that you or they see that conflicts with their inner belief, they will experience dissonance. And there's some things that they will do, and three things that they will do that really stand out, is that they will immediately begin to block the outside input. So they're getting input from their outside world, they're getting feedback, but it conflicts with their belief. And so they try to block it, right? They try to filter it out. And if that doesn't work, they will completely deny that observation is real. They'll completely delete it from their reality. And you probably have seen people where you say, look, here's the proof, blah, 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 blah. And they will say, no, that's not a proof. Or they will completely not even want to talk to you. That's the classic where you're in a relationship and one person, the other person, has a belief that is really unresourceful. And you want to help them see something differently. They won't even talk to you. They'll avoid the talk. They'll block you out. And finally, if all else fail, the person experiencing the dissonance about the belief will actually hallucinate that their belief is true. They'll actually create a reality in which their belief is true. So this is a big deal. So if you or someone you know or someone you love has a belief that's unresourceful and will not change and is going through dissonance, then you have to work with them very, very gently, or with yourself very, very gently, to be able to wake up. Now, this is all dealing with something called a low threshold. And I've mentioned this in the earlier sessions. Your meditation will help you increase your personal threshold, or if there's someone that you're working with, or a loved one or a family member, to raise their threshold rather than directly dealing with their dissonance and their belief. Just help them experience more meditation, and that will in itself help them open up. This is all part of the change process, and quite often in our personal reality, in our personal internal map, there are unresourceful beliefs that we refuse to change, and we block and delete and hallucinate. We have to change those. We have to open up and consider other realities. So this is an issue, and we'll again be talking about this later on. But the change process quite often for you will be dealing with your personal dissonance. Okay. And so we discussed in the last session about power beliefs and how some beliefs can be resourceful and some can be unresourceful. And so these beliefs can be spruced up, can be designed. So one way of designing your belief is to look at an existing belief that you have and trace it back to a desire. What is it that, if you believe that you've got to get up every morning and work hard and do this, what is it you actually are trying to do? And when you take it back a step, sometimes this is called crunch it up or go up a level. What is it you're trying to satisfy? Then you can come up with other ways of satisfying that desire. But okay, let's look. Say you have actually done the work and identified a desire, a core desire. And they're usually very basic, such as wanting to be loved or feeling financially secure, fairly high level. So you identified one. So let's pick one out of the air. Let's say, I like this one. Let's go with wanting to be loved. So that's your prime desire. And you can create a frame, not of you wanting to be loved, but of you being loved. You create a frame of the outcome. So I would create a frame of me walking down my magic beach, holding hands with someone that I am sharing the moment with, and having, and go through all of the parameters, okay? And then I would internalize it. So the exercise is really pretty simple, deceptively simple. And what you will find, or what I have found, is people do not do these little simple exercises. And then when it gets to more complicated stuff or more powerful stuff, they have difficulty because they haven't done the simple stuff. So this is simple. Try it though, and you might be pleasantly surprised. And through my years of research and studying and trying different things, I have found out that sometimes the very simple things that we do in life are, in fact, the most powerful. So let's go over it again. So you identify your desired outcome, keep it very high level, create a power frame of you actually having whatever it is you desire, and then you internalize it. Now, the process of going through a frame and building all the modes, we've done that many times, so you should be able to do that. If you have difficulty, reach out to me. And then visualizing the outcome, as I said, not visualizing wanting, visualize having. What will your subconscious look for? You want your subconscious to look for the outcome, Okay? And then the final step is to practice recalling it many times a day. Every time you got nothing else to do, pull up that frame of you getting what you desire, of me walking down the beach holding hands with someone that I am in love with and that is loving me back. So you do that frequently, okay? So that's the exercise. To break this into 4 sub areas, I'm going to talk a bit about the subconscious realm. I see it as a realm. It's kind of similar to our day-to-day world, but it isn't. It has different rules and different mandates, but it's very similar. For a while, I studied Aboriginal healing techniques, and one of the techniques was dreaming. So you would dream, and it's not really a dream, it's more like an experience. You would go into another realm in which you would try to affect positive outcomes. And this other realm was just like this realm, except it had different rules and different things. So your subconscious is like that. So we really want to discuss this a lot. So I want to present one little aspect on that. And then your subconscious will call you, will want to reach out to you, will want to communicate to you. So the trick is recognizing when your subconscious is talking to you and when it's just monkey brain talk. So when you just have a busy brain that's just bopping around. And I believe that does happen. Sometimes you just have things bopping around your head for no particular reason. But there are times, I think most of the times, there are specific reaching contacts with your subconscious. We won't talk about the greater subconscious and reaching out beyond that. It's kind of beyond the scope of this, but maybe at some point. Then I'd like to take a look at a few of the different types of ways the subconscious can reach out to you and interact with you. There are probably many, but I'll just sort of look at a few of them. Okay, and we'll look at a few examples. Okay, as I've been going on and on about, our conscious mind is just a pinpoint, is a focal point of our total reality. And the estimate is that it's less than 10% of what's going on in your reality is captured in your conscious mind. And that's where we can remember what happened yesterday and the day before and years ago. And we can apply logic and critical thinking to that 10% of our reality. And, most people, a lot of people, live in that 10% and never go beyond that. And they think that affecting change in their reality is really about affecting change in that 10% of their consciousness. But since you're in this course, that it's greater than that. And the overall 100% of you, 90% of that is governed by stuff you don't consciously watch and see. It's aware. It is a different kind of awareness. It's where we have all our beliefs, our emotions, our habits, our values, which we've been talking about a little bit. And in your subconscious, the overall goal of subconscious is really to nurture, protect, and to give you everything you want. It does share your long-term memory, but the long-term memory of the subconscious is different because it also contains not just the information, but it contains all the meanings and all of the outcomes as well. And it's connected to, of course, our imagination. And some people like to call it your intuition. And I think that may be the linking point between your conscious realm and your subconscious is this thing called the intuition. So when your subconscious calls, why would it call? Why would it be trying to get your attention? Well, if you recall back when we were talking about setting up your 3 wishes, your subconscious now knows that you have the wishes that you've made. So it's always going to be saying to you, hey, Steve, is this what you want? Or is this closer to what you want? Or, hey, look at this. This may be exactly what you want. So your subconscious is going to be verifying with you consciously. The other thing the subconscious does, which I think is really, really important, is before your subconscious will initiate anything, your subconscious will give you that millimeter of opportunity to say yes or no. Your subconscious will always present it to you and say, look, if you say nothing, I will do this. It's kind of like that, I think they call it negative advertising, where you would get a letter in the mail saying that your service, your internet service is going to be adding these features at this additional cost. And if you don't say anything, this will happen and your bill will go up by $50 next month. This negative kind of advertising is really the way the subconscious works. The subconscious says, hey, Steve, I'm thinking that this is probably what we're going to do next. Now, if you want me to do this, just go along with me. If you don't want me to do this, please say so now. So it will give you that little window of opportunity. Most people are not aware when the subconscious taps you on the shoulder and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do now. Do you want me to do it? Yes or no? No response means yes. You have to consciously say no. This gets a little bit laborious. Sometimes if you have some material to work through and the subconscious is busily showing you a lot of stuff because you got a lot of work to do, it can get tiring. It really can, where your subconscious is like a little child that wants to play all the time, or your puppy dog that wants to constantly play fetch the stick. Your subconscious will be saying, is this what you want? Yes or no? Is this what you want? Yes or no? And this could go on, which will seem like forever. And then all of a sudden, it's done. So what are the types of things that the subconscious is doing? Well, here's an interesting website I found about the subconscious. And I kind of like most of these. I just quickly whip through them. Some of the things about the subconscious is that it is always awake. It never sleeps. 24/7, subconscious is happening. It's keeping you alive. And the subconscious records and remembers everything. Now, not necessarily the way you remember it, but it will record everything. And we've been practicing recalling frames, and that you may get a frame that is fairly sparse and not full of information. But if you query it and really take a time and meditate on it, you can fill up all of the information about that frame. One of the roles of the subconscious is keeping you from being overwhelmed. I've often heard different meditation leaders and instructors and masters say that if you could see this reality as it really was, it would be overwhelmed. And maybe some of you that have taken some kind of psychedelic know the feeling of being overwhelmed. It's a lot of data. So we can't handle it. So the subconscious allows us to just look at 10%. It handles the 100%. And we don't have to be overwhelmed with all that information. The subconscious is habitual. This is one thing that you will notice when you try to make changes with your subconscious, is that it's addicted to things. So it will repeat things and repeat things and repeat things. And this is one of the reasons I think we're very susceptible to addictions, is that it's the way the subconscious works. And every time you repeat something, it gets more and more grounded in your timeline. The subconscious will read what you say literally. It doesn't make any assumptions that, oh, you really meant this. If you say, I don't want to be poor, the subconscious will read, I want to be poor. Because it will assume that if you don't want to be poor, the first thing you got to do is be it. So it will make you poor and then allow you to not want it. So you have to be very careful with the syntax of how you're communicating with your subconscious, because it's like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old child. It takes it literally. On the other hand, the subconscious doesn't really have a language of its own. It's more an environment, an experience, a feeling. There really isn't a separate language. It will use whatever you use to communicate with you, which is one of the reasons why you can travel around and experience things with different people. And I've had this experience where you go into a different country, a completely different language, completely different culture, and you can immediately communicate with everybody, and they can recognize your intent. This one here, the subconscious may speak to you in dreams. I kind of agree with that, but it's more, I think, the subconscious is trying to speak to you all the time. Now, if you get dreams, it may be a special area. Some people don't get a lot of dreams, some people do. But one of the things I want to just note here is that when you are meditating, you can slip into a dream. And this is what is, that's not bad, that's okay. It's recognizing that you are in a dream and then coming out of it and continuing with your meditation. That's the act of meditating. So this dream state can be while you're awake. It isn't necessarily while you're sleeping. It could be just when you're contemplating. This is an important one here. The subconscious is not logical, but it's very emotional. It responds to your emotional state. The stronger your emotions, the more the subconscious believes that you need or want something. So if you put a lot of emotional focus on something, your subconscious will try to get it for you immediately, right? So the emotional thing, that scale from 1 to 5 thing that I mentioned, this is why you really have to be attentive to whether you're 3 in the balance center or whether you're a 1 or 2 in the not happy or the 4 or 5 happy. Where are you in that mental state reality thing? So the intensity is very important. And here's one I like. The subconscious is doing a million things at once. It's doing everything that's keeping you functional, alive, and safe. So it's very, very busy. And it does it automagically. And the final one that they have here, which is kind of interesting, the subconscious is more powerful than your conscious mind. And I think I've been trying to say that it's your subconscious that does everything. So here's another website I found that was kind of interesting. They call it subliminal messaging, but it really is how do messages get through to you one way or the other. So this can be a two-way thing. This could be your subconscious communicating to you, or it could be your environment communicating with your subconscious. And these are similar to the 6 modes of thinking. However, there's a few little differences. There's the auditory, there's the visual, and there's the olfactory, smelling, and there's the gustatory, the taste. But then the tactile one is a little bit different. They've kind of broken that up, and they added 2 other ones in here. This vestibular balance thing that can happen, and the proprioception that I mentioned in a previous presentation. In the balance thing, in the vestibular, sometimes you can feel a sense of being really centered and balanced and comfortable. And other times you could feel like you're going to fall down and off balance. To me, that is a way that your subconscious can talk to you. And the outside world can affect you in that way. If something's not quite right with you, it can make you feel what? Off balance. The proprioception one is very interesting too. The sense of being very, very metabolically balanced and comfortable. Sometimes, and I might talk about this at some point, you will do an exercise of finding a place in the room where you feel 100% balanced, and safe. So it's a special location. Where in a room do you need to be? And this could be an actual physical room, or it could be an imaginary room. So those two are kind of interesting. Those could be lumped into the tactile physical sensation. And of course, what's missing from here is words. Now, you could lump words into symbols. Those auditory words act in a very specific way, and visual words act in a very specific way. So language in our thing, in terms of how we think, is a separate commodity. Okay, so let's look at some examples. The one I like, and I think is probably the most common, is the day-to-day synchronicity. I think of the way that Rose and I decided to do these series of presentations. I think it took a total of about 1 or 2 minutes for us to decide to do it. It was very, very almost instantaneous. We both wanted to achieve something. We both felt that we could work together. And this wasn't a long, drawn-out process. One of the features of very successful people is they recognize synchronicity and they don't take a long time reacting to it. If something is in sync, you should feel it. You should get that proprioception and that vestibular feeling it's in balance. All the indicators should tell you that this is the way to go. Sometimes I get a very physical feeling as if I'm pushing against something if it's not the right decision. It's a very physical pressing. And other times I feel a very open, flowing feeling if it's the right kind of thing. So watch for this synchronicity. And you can see here the puppy dogs who are all looking in the same direction. It's all around us all the time. This is the law of attraction. Another way that the subconscious might call us and communicate with us is when we are sitting quiet and just resting. When we are not communicating and transmitting, that's when the subconscious can transmit to us. So in other words, in order to receive a call or information, you need to be receptive. You need to be quiet. You can't listen and talk at the same time. Most people can't anyway. So these periods where you're being very quiet, sitting and meditating, there's something, I've referred to it already, called bubbling up. So when your thoughts come to you, the reason I want you to acknowledge them and politely let them go is because some of these can be very important messages from your subconscious. If you're meditating, you don't want to hang on to them, you just want to let them go. And at the end of your meditation, when you're finished, then you can just sit there quietly, and the impressions that are important to you, your subconscious will revisit them. They'll come back to you, and it will be kind of like, oh, do you remember you were meditating? I showed you this image or this frame. Well, I'd really like you to think about it some more, and here's some more information about it. Okay. Now, there is a whole realm of things, and I like to talk about them as oracles. The Eastern thing called the I Ching or I Ching, and I'll be giving some more information on this. It looks at the synchronicity of all the elements in nature: fire, earth, the lake, heaven, water is in rain, mountains, the thunder, the wind. And it puts these in a particular thing, just like the synchronicity of a clock. So think of it as each person having this gears or connection or portals. And everything else and everyone else in your reality has the same kind of gearbox or connectability thing. And they can click together. And when these interconnections between you and your environment, and I'll call it the realms that you live in, when these all connect in certain ways, then it is very much almost predictable what the outcome would come. Look up I Ching, I space CHING, and there's even online versions of it that you can play. Believe it or not, the online versions that you basically hit the button and it will give you an I Ching reading, are extremely interesting. Another version of this, the oracle cards that people use, or the tarot. This is, you mix up the cards, focus on them, and then select a series of cards. And the synchronicity will make it. Now, what's the bottom rule here? The bottom rule here is that in everything you do, you are a microcosm of your reality. You're a prism. You are, in fact, like a hologram. And every piece of you reflects the whole. So anything you do, even if it appears to be random, will reflect the synchronicity of your state of mind. So with the I Ching, for instance, you throw 3 coins several times, and then depending on the pattern, it will point to one of these, what they call hexagrams. It looks random, but you have to say to yourself, is life random, or does it only appear to be random? If we're only seeing our reality with the 10% of our consciousness, and there's the other 90%, we can't see that. So what may appear to be random and just a fluky thing will actually be in the cards, be part of the synchronicity of your life. I honestly believe that there were many times in my life that I have been guided, or in some way almost like bumper cars. I almost didn't have any other choice, but I had to follow the path, the way. And we will see you in the sessions.